Gypsy's Life After Lockup has premiered last night, and a couple of people had clipped part of the premiere, so we are going to talk about it, and I am going to give you my opinion on what was said in these premieres.
So, in the state of Louisiana, the law states that if a child is conceived within a marriage, the husband is the presumed father of that child.
I wish that she had gotten through this divorce process before this happened.
I'm labeled a loose woman, a hoe. I've already seen comments online of people saying that it should have been a condition of my parole to get my tubes tied. The test is less for the public and more for Ryan to say, hey dude, you're not the father, accept it and move on.
Okay, there's a couple of things. First, I want to start off with everyone seems to be really upset about Ken saying that I wish she would have waited until her divorce was over before all of this, meaning the pregnancy, the paternity, all of that stuff. And I want to give a different perspective because everybody is making it out like, oh, it takes two to tango. Yes, it does. But I want you to revert back to the live that Gypsy and Ken did with Natasha, where Gypsy claimed she was taking birth control. And there were already, rumors about her being pregnant. And she says, no, I'm on birth control. And he looks at her specifically and he's like questioning if she's being honest, or he's thinking in his mind like, God, I hope you really are on birth control. So for him, he was obviously thinking that she was on birth control. So considering how much of a deceptive person that she is, he could be feeling a little bit of resent right now because he was under the impression that she was taking birth control, therefore didn't take the necessary precautions to protect himself from getting her pregnant because he thought he didn't need to. And when you are kind of tricked into believing something that somebody tells you and then it turns out not to be true, you can form a little bit of resentment because of that. So I'm getting a little bit of resentment from Ken in regards to the entire pregnancy situation. And as far as Gypsy saying that people are labeling her a loose woman or a hoe, whatever, I don't think I've heard anybody say that specifically. I do know that everyone is commenting on how inappropriate it is for her to have cheated on her husband so publicly, and then not only cheat on Ryan, but she got pregnant with Ken. So I'm not saying that she's a loose woman or a hoe or whatever, but of course, if that's how she feels about the situation, then that's her feelings. Those are her feelings that she's projecting onto everyone else. I don't think I've heard anyone say anything about her being a loose woman or a hoe or whatever. I do know that I have heard and read people's comments saying that she shouldn't have been allowed to have children. I've even said that myself. So I can definitely agree that that is something that I have heard, because in my comment section, I have seen people commenting that she should have been sterilized. And I honestly believe that that's true. I don't think that this person is capable of being a caring mother, and I don't think that the child that she has right now is going to receive the love and the care that this child actually needs. So, but it's here now. So there's nothing that we can do about it other than pray and hope that Gypsy grows up a little bit and takes care of not only herself, but takes care of this child as well, because Gypsy has a lot of growing up to do. And unfortunately, she's going to be growing up alongside this child. And let's just hope that she starts to make better decisions when it comes to her life now that the baby is here, as opposed to the decisions that she's been making for the last year, because the last year she has not been making the best decisions at all. Now let's get to the second clip.
Sharing my story of the beginning of motherhood is very important because I have something to prove. I have to prove that I'm going to be a better mother than what my mother was.
It's amazing to hear. Yeah, this is your nanny. Give me a tip. I hope that they do not rush a marriage. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you need to get married.
When we were married before the baby was born, did that change anything?
So we are in a stressful situation. You know, with us being in the public eye,
Right.
us being new parents.
I just didn't think we needed couples therapy.
There are times that I feel really guilty. Just because, like, I know there's been a lot of change for him. So I told him I don't want him to stay because of the baby. I want him to want this relationship to work. I'll have the paperwork for you to sign this week, meaning the divorce will be final soon.
Okay.
You know, my boss want best friend. You know, not only my wife want best friend. And that's what's hard.
My fears and the challenges has everything to do about getting through parole successfully. There's a lot stacked against me. A lot of people want to see me fail. I deal with people reporting me to my PO, telling my parole officer lies about me. Let my baby be born in the world. I don't want her to be born in captivity. I honestly feel like I've lived 10 years in the last year. All I can say is let me prove you wrong.
Gypsy Rose, life after.
A lot of what is shown are things that we have already seen play out on social media, but I want to pay really good attention to the first couple of clips where Gypsy is talking about that she has something to prove now, and she's trying to prove that she's going to be a better mother than her mother was. And unfortunately, I don't think that she's going to be able to supersede what her mother did for her, because the level of care and comfort and dedication that her mother had to her, continuously having to take her to doctor's appointments and such because she was sick. Gypsy does not have that level of dedication towards anything, and I don't think that that's going to change now just because she has a baby. I did hear Ken say, well, if we were married, would that change anything before the baby's born? And I think that he is as impulsive as Gypsy is, which is why she was gravitating towards him more than Ryan, because Ryan seems really level-headed and more responsible, and where Ken just kind of enables her poor choices and they make poor choices together, which is detrimental for the upbringing of a child, a newborn. I also want to mention a little bit about the paternity test. Just because we are watching Gypsy and Ken go into a facility to have testing done does not mean that that is connected to the test that Gypsy posted on her Instagram. That test could be what Gypsy and Ken are having to do now that she is divorced from Ryan. So I know that a lot of people are trying to connect the two together, and I just want to, like, let's be aware that Gypsy could have done this at-home test, and them showing them at the facility could be two separate scenarios. It does not mean that they walked in there together and did this test, and that's the one that she posted on social media. I have a feeling that this is a separate incident, a separate situation that has nothing to do with the first test that we already saw results on. You can hear Mia say to the cameras, well, just because you're pregnant doesn't mean that you have to get married, and you don't. But we already know that Gypsy is going to be kind of pushing for Ken to go ahead and marry her, which is why she already gave him that promise ring. I also found it really interesting that while they went to couples counseling, that Gypsy was showing a lot of emotions when it came to her feelings for Ken and for him possibly leaving her, and her not wanting him to leave her and wanting him to want to be with her, not just because she has this child. And let's go back to all of the interviews in regards to her mother. She's never shown that much emotion or sadness or concern about her mother in any interview. So I think it's quite telling how much she is dependent on this love of a man, and how little she cared about her mother as a human and as a person. If she can have emotions towards this man and literally show none in regards to her unalived mother that she played the biggest part in. And I think the entire couples therapy bit was for Lifetime. I don't think that they continued to go to therapy after Lifetime recorded those 2 sessions or whatever it was that they did. It's all for show in order to have this outward perception that she is doing what is necessary to do in order to be a productive citizen and a productive member of society, but it is all a facade. Gypsy does not have any intentions on actually being a good person, and that's why everyone is so fearful for this child being in her care. She also mentions that a lot of people want to see her fail, and that's absolutely untrue. We don't want to see her fail. We actually had such high hopes for her when she got out of prison. It was because of her own actions that we kind of threw in the towel and was like, okay, she's just being toxic AF and doesn't care about anybody but herself, and she's continued to prove that till today. Everything she does is for the perception in the public to perceive her a certain way. It's not because she actually is being a good human. It's only because she wants people to view her as being a good human. And she has lived a lot in the last year. She's done a lot because it felt like she was trying to do everything all at once. But here's the thing. Now that she's done everything that she supposedly wanted to do, now she's going to have this child to take care of. She claimed that she was like in a prison when she was living with her mom, and then went from one prison to another prison. Well, what do you think it's like taking care of a child? It's like being in a prison in your own home that you can't escape with a screaming baby. Yes, there are joyous moments about being a mom, but a lot of the time it's not about you, it's about that child. So it doesn't seem to me like she was ever held in captivity, because for somebody who was held in captivity, they would absolutely want freedom to explore who they are as a person and not be tied down already with a child to take care of. I think that Gypsy has wanted a child for a very long time, and I think that because of her illness, her mother was very realistic when it came to what her possible limitations could be, and potentially passing this on to a child. And I feel like this was a I'm gonna prove you wrong type of situation, not because she actually wanted a child. I think that her mother tried to help her to be realistic about the sheer magnitude of what it takes to take care of a child. And similarly to when Ryan was telling Gypsy about how much responsibility it was for her to have that dog Pixie, and how she got upset about him saying that it's a huge responsibility. Having a dog is a huge responsibility, but having a child is an even bigger responsibility, and you abandoned your responsibility as a dog owner. So how are we to trust that you're not going to do something to harm this child that you have, or abandon this child that you have? There are a lot of questions, but I want you to remember that just because you're seeing Gypsy and Ken going to the DNA facility does not mean that those test results are from the test that she has already given to us on Instagram. That could be a separate situation. Just keep that in the back of your mind, because I have a feeling that Lifetime is going to play out this paternity situation, and it's not going to be what you think it is. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments, of course.